Toronto, a bustling metropolis, found itself grappling with chaos today as a relentless downpour brought the city to its knees. The torrential rain, described by meteorologists as a once-in-a-century event, overwhelmed the city's drainage systems, leaving streets inundated and residents stranded. The deluge began in the early hours of the morning, catching many off guard as they started their daily routines. The relentless downpour quickly transformed Toronto's streets into raging rivers. Cars were seen struggling to navigate through knee-deep water, their headlights barely piercing the thick curtain of rain. Pedestrians waded through flooded sidewalks, their shoes soaked and spirits dampened. The relentless rain showed no signs of abating, leaving Torontonians to grapple with the immediate impact of the devastating floods and brace themselves for the long road to recovery. The city's infrastructure, ill-prepared for such an unprecedented deluge, failed under pressure, serving as a stark reminder of the urgent need for climate change adaptation and resilient infrastructure. One of the hardest-hit areas was the Don Valley Parkway, a major artery that cuts through the heart of the city. The expressway was transformed into a raging river, submerging vehicles and leaving commuters stranded. The scene was one of chaos, with cars bobbing in the murky water. Emergency crews were quickly dispatched, but their efforts were hampered by the volume of water. Crews were deployed to rescue stranded motorists. The closure of the Don Valley Parkway brought traffic to a standstill, highlighting the vulnerability of the city's infrastructure. The deluge did not spare Toronto's downtown core, where the financial district and bustling shopping streets were transformed into virtual lakes. Subway stations were flooded, forcing the closure of major lines and stranding commuters underground. Businesses were forced to close their doors as water seeped into basements and ground floors, ruining merchandise and disrupting operations. The iconic Union Station, a major transportation hub connecting commuters to various parts of the city and beyond, was also affected. Floodwaters poured into the station, disrupting train schedules and forcing the evacuation of passengers. The scene at Union Station, typically a bustling hub of activity, was one of confusion and frustration as travellers found themselves stranded, their journeys disrupted by the relentless downpour. As the rain continued to fall, the situation in downtown Toronto grew increasingly dire. The city's drainage system, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of water, struggled to cope, turning streets into rivers and basements into swimming pools. The flooding wreaked havoc on Toronto's public transportation system, leaving commuters stranded and frustrated. Subway lines were shut down due to flooding, streetcar services were suspended, and bus routes were severely delayed or diverted. The closure of the subway system, a lifeline for many Torontonians, further exacerbated the transportation nightmare, forcing people to find alternative ways to navigate the flooded city. With limited options available, many commuters were left with no choice but to walk, braving the treacherous conditions and risking their safety. The sidewalks, already crowded with displaced pedestrians, became increasingly dangerous as the water level rose, concealing potholes and other hazards. The flooding exposed the vulnerability of Toronto's public transportation system to extreme weather events. The city's reliance on underground infrastructure proved to be a major weakness, as even a moderate amount of flooding could bring the entire system to a grinding halt. A race against time. Emergency services were stretched thin as they responded to a deluge of calls for help. Firefighters worked tirelessly to rescue residents, while paramedics treated those injured in falls and accidents caused by the treacherous conditions. The emergency response was swift and well coordinated, but the sheer scale of the disaster tested the limits of the city's resources. First responders navigated flooded streets to assist. They worked tirelessly, pumping water out of flooded basements, clearing debris from roads, and providing assistance to those in need. The dedication and bravery of Toronto's first responders were evident in their unwavering commitment to helping those affected by the floods. They worked tirelessly, putting their own lives at risk to ensure the safety and well-being of their fellow citizens. Mayor's plea, Urgent action needed. Toronto. Mayor Olivia Chow addressed the city, expressing her concern and outlining the steps being taken to address the crisis. She praised the efforts of first responders and city staff, while also acknowledging the significant challenges the city faces in the wake of the floods. Mayor Chow emphasized the need for urgent action to address the city's aging infrastructure, which proved to be woefully inadequate in the face of such extreme weather. This is a stark reminder that climate change is real and its impacts are being felt right here, right now, Mayor Chow said. We need to invest in resilient infrastructure that can withstand these types of events, which are becoming increasingly common. Mayor Chow's words resonated with many Torontonians who have long expressed concerns about the city's preparedness for extreme weather. The floods served as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for investment in climate change adaptation and mitigation measures. Outages plague Toronto. As if the flooding wasn't enough, the torrential rain also wreaked havoc on Toronto's power grid, leaving more than 1,000 residents and businesses without electricity. Downed power lines, caused by falling trees and strong winds, plunged neighborhoods into darkness, adding another layer of complexity to the already challenging situation. The power outages affected traffic lights, further snarling traffic, and left many residents without access to cooling and other essential appliances. Toronto Hydro, the city's electricity provider, worked tirelessly to restore power, but the widespread nature of the outages made it a daunting task. Crews battled flooded streets and downed trees to reach affected areas, working around the clock to restore electricity to as many customers as possible. The power outages served as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of urban infrastructure to extreme weather events, highlighting the need for greater investment in grid resilience and alternative energy sources. With such unprecedented rainfall, the city was unprepared. Environment Canada, Canada's national weather agency, issued rainfall warnings for Toronto and the surrounding areas, advising residents to stay indoors and avoid unnecessary travel. The agency reported that some areas of the city had received over 200 millimeters of rain in a 24-hour period, surpassing previous records and overwhelming the city's drainage systems. The unprecedented rainfall caught many off guard, exposing the city's lack of preparedness for such extreme weather events. The drainage system designed to handle normal rainfall was simply unable to cope with the sheer volume of water, leading to widespread flooding. The severity of the flooding served as a stark reminder of the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events linked to climate change. The way forward. Building a resilient Toronto. As Toronto recovers from this devastating flood, we learn the urgent need for better infrastructure preparedness. The city's vulnerability to extreme weather events is clear, highlighting the need for resilient infrastructure investment. Upgrading the drainage system is crucial to prevent future disasters. Green infrastructure like permeable pavements and green roofs can absorb rainwater and reduce drainage strain. Creating green spaces and restoring water bodies helps mitigate flooding effects. Building a resilient Toronto requires upgrading infrastructure, enhancing emergency preparedness, and advocating for climate policies. Together, we can build a sustainable and resilient future.